So happy New Year, everybody. I just wanted to welcome you to the call. This call this morning, this webinar that we're having this morning, is basically like a no BS type of thing. So sometimes people don't like to hear the way it really is. And so we're going to tell you, though, today, uh, what we feel is sort of the truth, because the truth will set you free. And when we're talking about money, sometimes it's hard for people to hear, the what it requires. There's a lot of psychology behind money. It's sort of the way that we are raised. It is in our value system. Like, if you had parents that were always, worried about money, that affects you as an adult. If you had parents that were constantly giving their kids money, that affects how you feel that you should treat your children and money. And back in the old days, like take back, like, I guess the best example I can think of is, if you were on the prairie and taking a wagon across the entire plains of America. We didn't pay our kids allowances to go gather like firewood for the fire. We expected them to participate so that we could all survive as a family unit. And so money was not like a cure-all. It was just, something that they used, so that they could buy things with. So today we are going to talk a little bit about common financial mistakes that people make, how to create an action plan, maybe talking a little bit about setting financial goals, shifting a little bit in your mind about how to think about money and how to adjust and review things. And then, of course, we'll have a question and answer session. And this is, just my opinion with my experience as a mortgage planner over the last 30 years, is that we have a couple different types of people that we work with consistently a lot. There seems to be people that are really good savers and very frugal, and then there's a lot of people that don't save any money. They live beyond their means. They're not really sure what a budget is. And again, we find that a lot of this has to do so many times with the way that we were raised, and also has to do with how you've paid your dues in life. Like, we see a lot of people, they're in college for many years, like their advanced degrees, and then they're like, hey man, I'm done. Like, I deserve this $100,000 vehicle. And what controls our reactions in life so much is our true intrinsic beliefs and values, and these patterns that we have, like, sort of behind the scenes in our subconscious. Like, the glacier that you see above the water is only a very small percentage of your whole mind. Most of your subconscious, most of the subglacier is below the surface. And that is really what is controlling how you act and react to pretty much everything. A big deal, a lot of times Chris and I will ask people, how much they owe in student loans, or what they have in retirement, or even how much money they make. And you would be floored, but a lot of times people have no idea. They have no idea what they're spending their money at. They don't even look at their 401ks. In fact, their employers are matching money in their 401k, and they're not even participating. And so, or if they're participating, but they haven't looked at their 401k for years, they have, Chris, probably no idea, right? No idea how much is in their 401k. It's so common, right, Chris? When we ask people, how much is in your 401k, and what do they say?
Absolutely. They have 50% of them have no idea.
They have no idea. Just incredible. And then you have a lot of people, they're like bummed out today. And so for lunch, instead of going to the gym, which was their plan, because they want to work out 2 times a week during the work week, they go shopping and they go to the grocery store. So in their mind, they're like, hey, I'm just going to go to the grocery store. But when they're at the grocery store, they buy a special shampoo and they buy like really nice beers, like for their dinner that weekend. And they buy a whole bunch of stuff that they really don't need, or they didn't even have any intention to buy, or they might go out clothes shopping. It's just an example of what I'm saying, is that they are impulse spending. They're doing it because it makes them feel more in control. It makes them feel better. And they don't even know they're doing it. They really don't. We don't know. It's not them. We don't know that we're doing it. A lot of people like just Venmo money and PayPal money, and we have these automatic subscriptions, subscribe and save items on Amazon. They have the subscription thing is really big in our culture now. Like you go to chiropractors and you pay a monthly fee, and you go to massage places, there's a monthly fee, there's gyms, there's monthly fees, there's Netflix, there's monthly fees, there's Audible. And these automatically go to our credit cards. And then another thing that people do is they don't even review their credit cards. They have no idea what they're spending on their credit cards on a monthly basis, which percentage of the credit card is going towards food, towards like, items that maybe they didn't need, towards their kids, towards their cats, dogs, whatever, towards their clothes. They have literally no idea. They buy food, and they don't even eat it. They just throw it out in their refrigerator. They buy food and they go out to lunch, they go out to dinner, and they bring the leftovers home and they don't eat it. So they don't have a financial plan. And here's a really big deal. And by the way, welcome, Sean. It's nice to see you. They don't have an emergency fund. Like, so we've had a couple of our clients this past year, thank God they had an emergency fund, where they literally ended up in the hospital. They ended up in the hospital, and they were in the hospital for a few weeks. In fact, one of them was in the hospital for almost a month. And if they didn't have an emergency fund, friends, they would not have been able to make their mortgage payment on the house that they just bought a few months ago. And so an emergency fund is so, so important that you have. And I'm not talking about like 1 month of, that's better than nothing. But you ideally want to have several months put aside in an emergency fund, God forbid, in case something happened to you or your spouse, or in my husband's, in my case, we had my brother who got hit by a drunk driver. He was in a coma for a year. We had to help him with his bills on his house for 1 year. You're not going to let your family down. And it's not something that you're like, hey, I think I'll plan to help out my family member for a year. It's just not something that you plan for, right? So an emergency fund is a very, very big deal. So I want to just let Chris talk a little bit about impulse spending. Chris, go, all yours.
All right. Well, in creating this webinar and talking about these topics, I think Chris got exposed to one of his little vices. I have an addiction to battery-powered Ryobi tools. And so I oftentimes, more than not, will go to Home Depot for a task and come back with a new green box. Do I need that new green box? Absolutely not. Are there tools in my garage I haven't used yet? Absolutely. But there is some sort of therapy that I get from going to purchase these little green monsters. And so even a mortgage guy is not immune to these things. So if you look at my garage, it's all green. And yeah, we try to keep the wife out of there just to, avoid viewing any new green boxes.
I mean, it's like we're trying to make a joke of it because there's something that we all have that we that we do. I don't know what your thing is, but we're just sharing with you like our own stuff to have you think about it, because it's a mindset, like money, managing your life so that you have choices in your life somewhere down the line, that you can have a job that you don't have to work at, but that you want to work at because it's your life dream, it's your life passion to help people or to do whatever that is. You have to be able to have this financial freedom in order to do it, because most people are uh, they're working and they're just working to pay the bills. And the change that you're going to have when it comes to anything in your life, whether that means you're going to change and have a financial budget, or help your clients to do that, or to work out, or to stop smoking, or to stop drinking, or whatever it is, it only happens when you really make a decision that the pain of keeping what you have is greater than the pain of actually changing, right? And and so I'm talking a little bit about goals. I love this study. It's obviously a very famous study, but many years ago, Harvard did a study and showed that 13% of the class wrote down goals, and those 13% made double the money as the people that did not write down the goals. But 3% of those people, 3% of the 100%, so 3% actually had goals and had a plan. Like, I want to start working out. Okay, I'm going to Google gyms and I am going to find out where are the gyms around. They had a plan. They made 10 times the money as everybody else. So we're going to show you a little bit how for you to write down goals, and you starting to get intentional about your goals so that you can make some changes that you want to make this year and years after, and even share these changes with your family members. So it all starts, friends, with you finding out how much you spend every month. I was talking to my girlfriend just this past week saying, have you figured out what percentage of your pie graph every month you spend on your dogs? Because we were talking about how much money we spend on our dogs. And she started laughing. She goes, that is my biggest expense. And that's my biggest expense too. My husband, I go, where are we spending the money? He's like, your dogs, your dogs. And so I'm a visual person, so I like pie graphs. And so the pie graph, if you have to know what you're spending the money on first to make any changes, right? Whatever goals you have, you can't just like think them, you have to actually write them down. And then there's also something else, that when you have a pen, I mean, not just typing it on your computer, friends, but you have a pen between your thumb and your forefinger, something in your brain, something happens, and that helps you remember your goals more. So the act of actually writing it. Having an emergency fund is absolutely critical. In our jobs, we're helping people use real estate to build financial wealth, and it's really important we talk to our clients about having an emergency fund. You may have a house already, but you may not have an emergency fund. It's also important to write down the why of the goal, and the goals are not just financial, right? They're about your health, your wellness. They're about contributing back to society. They're about love and connection. They're about everything and anything, and they can be crazy, and they can be small, and they can be large. But if you write down why you want to buy a new pair of jeans, or why you want to have a side business for your retirement, then all of a sudden it becomes like more important for some reason. Don't be afraid of not making your goals like achievable. Like, in fact, you should make some of them crazy, like, because the sky is the limit. You've heard of it. Like, don't be afraid of failing. You can change your goals. Like, don't be afraid of not being able to do them. Like, when you do a goal setting exercise, you write down everything and anything that comes to your mind, as crazy as it is. You just write and write and write and write. And don't worry about grammar and pronunciation. You just write them all down. Okay.
And failing equals trying.
Right. And they didn't make the light bulb without failing like a million times on, on electricity. So one thing I do want to mention to you guys that's really pretty important, like you have a couple numbers that are very important in your adult life. One of them being your cholesterol level, okay, and one of them being your credit score. Your credit score is critical for you as when you're applying for some jobs, like in our mortgage industry. If we had a foreclosure or a bankruptcy, we could not renew our mortgage license. So it affects your insurance, it affects your mortgage insurance, it affects your jobs. Sometimes when you're applying for jobs, it affects so many things. So I do want you to look at your credit score at least once per year. And you can go to freecreditscore.com. That is a consumer credit score, which is not a mortgage credit score, but at least it will give you an idea of what your score is. Okay. Also, I want you to think about a budget. Okay. And I'm going to show you, I can actually send you, Madison can send you guys a copy of this spreadsheet. I got it for free. It's from Microsoft. And I know there's probably lots of them out there. You can get them at Quicken. You can pay a couple dollars a month. I'll show you some of the websites that have these. But and in this spreadsheet, you're going to track your expenses, and it's for you, right? It's not for me, right? It's for you. Some things that I do encourage people to do, and also to do with your children, like when you have children, they watch you. Okay. So whatever you say doesn't matter as much as what you do. Okay. You're training your kids about money from the time that when you give them money or they have a paycheck. If you want them to give a portion of their money back to the world, to charity, that means that even as a kid, they should be doing that, right? Sometimes when people are going to want to pay off a debt, or they want to do an addition to their house, or they want to buy a house, or anyway, they want to buy something, they get a second job sometimes. And this is like for a temporary time period so that they have a second gig to help them achieve their goal faster. Maybe they're on a certain career path. Now, here is a personal budget. I just want to make sure, can you guys see this? Chris, can you see the little spreadsheet here?
I can.
Okay, very good. So, this is from Microsoft. I'm going to send you guys a copy of this. This is really simple. It just shows what is your take-home wages, not what you make, what you take home. Okay. On a monthly basis, you would fill this in. There are softwares that will take all this stuff from your credit card statements and put it in spreadsheets for you. Okay. And so I'm just giving you a spreadsheet as a basis to start so that you can formulate a budget. Okay. Now, what are you spending in your housing and your insurance? And what are you spending on your groceries and your childcare and your dry cleaning? And Amy, I don't want to do this. And I'll tell you why I don't want to do it, because I don't want to be limited and I don't want to have to make a change. Okay. Well, remember, the truth will set you free. This is so that you can figure out where you are. Okay. It's not fun to do. I didn't say it was fun. I just said, if you want to get a handle on your finances, you're going to have to do this, right? It's, how much do you pay your dog walker? How much do you pay for your coffee every week, or your lunch every week, your gas, your insurances, your cable, your video, your prime purchases of your movies, your books, your your health club dues, like your accommodations or plane fare if you travel. Like, what are all your expenses? Toys, shoes, what do you spend for magazines, or everything? Okay. Everything is what you're looking to record to get a grip of where you are. This is not for me, it's for you. It's only for you. So at the end of the month, you can see, well, if you brought home $5,200, okay, and in here, this person put aside $500 for long-term savings, $300 in retirement, and they paid, had credit card payments of $123. They put that stuff in here, okay? They still had leftover money. And then you could decide, should I be using that money to pay down debt, or should I be putting it aside, or what the heck should I be doing with it? You first have to figure out where you are, okay? So let me just pause here for a second. Chris, are there any questions that we need to address?
So far, no, everybody is super attentive and super smart. They have not asked any, but now's the time, anywhere from now until the end of the webinar, to ask those. We'll get them queued up and get your answers for you.
Excellent, okay? Now, this is just an example of if you saved, if you were going out to lunch every day and the lunch was costing you $12, and you decided not to go out to lunch every day and just bring your lunch from home, and you figured that you would save $10 a day, okay? In year one, you can see on this chart exactly where you would be. In 15 years, you would save $80,000 by doing that. And that's using the beautiful tool of compounding interest, right? So on year 6, you would save $24,000. But if you go up here in 15 years, because that money is going into an account, and you have this beautiful thing called compounding interest, the money keeps adding on top of each other. And I can't tell you, I probably can't share with you enough. Like, that's one regret that I have when I was a kid, is I always did invest money because I was taught, but I came from a sort of a poor family, and I say poor, lower middle income family, that we didn't have any money, right? But my mom somehow ended up saving money. And so it was like ingrained in me to save money. And I just wish I would have saved more when I was younger because of this, because of compound interest. You just save $10 5 days a week and not go out and bring your lunch from home. And in 15 years, you'll have $80,000 by not going out to lunch. This is just an example. It's extremely powerful, right? And it's much more than what you think. So once you have an idea of what your debt is and what your budget is, you can actually develop a plan. And you know, people go, I'm going to do the highest interest rate cards. Well, friends, that's not always the best idea. Sometimes it's better to pay off like a high payment, okay? You may only owe $8,000 on something, but the payment's $563 a month. And if you just paid that off, you would have that $563 a month left so that you could pay the other debts down. So it is a combination of looking at the debts and looking at what the interest rates are. Okay. Chris, have I missed anything?
You are spot on right now.
Now, friends, here's a great little piece of software. It's called Mint. My husband and I have used this, and like it dings you in the grocery store. It's like ding ding ding. You've exceeded your grocery store budget for the month. I'm like, shut up. And so it actually reports to you, and it takes from your credit cards and prepares these graphs for you, which I like. There's also this very cool company that has been started by some multi-millionaires, and it's like a game that teaches kids about money. It's called Gravy Stack, and it's coming out in February of this year if you want to take a look at it. You can also get a whole bunch of education online. Not that it's correct, but about anything, right? It could be about your camera. It could be about how to fix your stereo, how to fix this. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we have available to us online that we never had available before. So you can study something, you could make it a goal, like one of your goals. I want to become more financially adept. Like, I want to be able to understand finances better. So I'm going to watch a 10-minute or 15-minute video one time a week. and you could do that. Okay. You can teach your older kids, I mean, not your 6-year-olds, but your older kids about actually budgeting, about credit, about really the importance of living within a budget. You know, we have we don't have any children, but my niece and my nephew have spent their summers with us many times. And I remember teaching my nephew, like, okay, if you were making X amount of dollars per hour and you were working 40 hours per week, what would that add up to? And then what happens if you had to pay taxes? And then, you know, and going through that all with them. And he's like, but that's not fair. There's really no money left after all those things. I'm like, yep, that's it. You have to, you know, you can't just be spending your money at the convenience store, you know, $4 here and $3 there, because that's $7 in the day. And then if you do that like every day, that's $50 a week. And so it's really important. Another thing that you should have is a will. Like you should have a will. And if you have parents that are elderly, you should know where their will is. And you should know, you know, you can have them like create sort of like a love letter that says, like, these are my passwords and this is where my accounts are. And because you never know. It's just, you just simply, friends, you never know when it's your time to not be here. Okay. Invest in yourself. If you are not growing, you are dying. When you are growing and you are making progress, you feel happy. But when you're not growing and you're just like, you're not, most people are not happy. Okay. In order to give back, in order to make a difference, in order to live longer, in order to be able to love your spouse, your kids, enjoy your job, make a difference in the world, you have to feel like you're able to give. And you're only able to give when you're in a good place yourself, right? When you're making a major purchase like a car or shopping for a college, it's really good to compare these things and not make impulse buys. I know this sounds stupid, but like, you know, if you go to college and you spend $60,000 a year instead of $30,000 a year, at the end of 4 years, how much money will you owe and how long will it'll take for you to pay that back? If you're buying a lawnmower, it's worth you shopping that, right? Because these are more expensive items that you don't buy all the time. So I just mentioned that. I know it's common sense, but I just mention it because a lot of people don't do this. To be mindful, we talk about being mindful in all aspects of our life. Most people think it has to do with like Zen gardens or yoga, but being mindful simply means to be here in this present moment, to enjoy right now. Okay. So when you're thinking about spending money, do you have to spend that money? Like, I would rather go out to dinner, but I still have leftovers in my refrigerator. Well, I don't really want to eat the leftovers and I deserve to go out. Like, these are just topics that you have in your own mind. I'm challenging you to think about them, to just be very aware of what you're spending your money on, because that is how you are going to make a difference in being financially independent or not. Okay. And you don't, we don't, when I say you, I mean we, okay. We don't need a lot of the stuff that we buy. I went to visit a friend of mine in Sweden, and she had a cabin, and in the cabin, the downstairs was like the size of like, I mean, not even the size of our living room. It was like a lot smaller. And that downstairs was a living room and it was a kitchen. And then to go upstairs, there was a ladder and you like climbed up the ladder to go to the second floor, and the whole family slept on the second floor. And I know this sounds sort of weird to talk about on a webinar, but I'm like, excuse me, guys, but like, do you not have privacy? Like, your kids sleep on the same floor. Like, it's like, you know, it's like the size, like not much bigger than the size of my work office. They're like, yeah, Amy, they're sleeping. And I was like, whoa, too much information. But it's so much smaller homes. Like, we don't need huge homes. A lot of times we buy huge homes because they make us feel really good about ourselves. I've had several people say to me they want to buy a 6-figure car. I'm like, wow. I mean, oh my gosh. Why? Or they want to have like certain pants or size diamonds or certain shoes, or because it makes them feel significant. It has nothing to do with that they need it. Okay. So I challenge you to like just simplify. Like, how many times have you looked in your own closet and been like, I have not worn those clothes in like years. Why do you have them? Right. I mean, give them up and embrace what you have and be happy with yourself with what you have. You don't need a whole bunch more. You know, you need less probably than what you think, right? Now, people focus on, well, you know, my life is so, I'm sorry to say this, it's so hard, it's so bad, it's so whatever it is, okay? And I constantly talk to Madison in my office about like, wow, I I found out why Bob hasn't been returning our calls. He's been really sick. And I mean, he's been in and out in the hospital for months, and he's going to see a specialist in Scotland in March. And you're like shocked that all these people that you know are going through so many things, like harder things than you are. Like you think, I think, well, gosh, that's really hard. Like you think sometimes you're the only one that is going through this thing. And our life is not, you know, is not really like, we're not really experiencing our whole lives. In fact, we're experiencing only what we focus on. And so I want you to challenge yourself to focus on how many good things there are in your life, because there are a lot more things than what you think about. Okay. There's a lot more gratitude out there that you could have for where you have your place in your life right now. Um, and of course, I have to mention to you that when you are a homeowner, you have a much greater net worth than when you're renting. And it's strange, but it's not because all of the extra money that you have is just in your house, but it's because when you become a homeowner, something happens to many people, not everybody, but to many people, where they start to go, like I had a friend of mine who's like, you know, Amy, I bought in downtown Wake Forest because I wanted to be able to walk to the Starbucks. Okay. But now that I live here and I have my house, I don't go to Starbucks anymore. I just have coffee in my house. And I thought, that's really funny. And it plays into this slide. And I've seen this slide over the last 10 years many times. It's actually more than 40 times now, but I'm using the 40 times. And I looked it up again about a month ago, and it's higher than this now. But it's true. And it just floors me every time that I see this, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Another thing that's very interesting is that on December 28th, they came out with a study just, you know, a couple weeks ago, where they interviewed the top 100 entities that were forecasting what is going to happen with real estate in the next 5 years. Like, hey, you know, Sean, Carol, Katrine, what do you think is going to happen to real estate in the next 5 years? And you're an expert. And the most optimistic of those 100 entities said, I think real estate is going to go up 40% in 5 years. Wow. I mean, that's a lot. And the most negative that were interviewed said, nah, not 40%, only 10%. Okay. But the panel themselves, like, you know, I don't know if it was the median or the average, but the panel themselves actually said, you know what? We think that values are going to go up 25% in the next 5 years. Now, friends, that is huge. It's really irrelevant what you pay in your interest rate if your property is going up 25% in 5 years. And so it's a lot easier to buy at the front end of this curve than in a year or two when property values have gone up 15%. Because when interest rates begin to go down, and they already have, there's going to be a lot more buyers that come into the market, and that is going to drive the home prices up. And that's why programs like the $15,000 down payment assistance program and programs like that are so helpful to people. And some people can't buy right now. And they need coaching. It's like you're trying to train for a marathon. You don't just like go run the marathon, but you have to get into shape. We can help you get in financial shape, or we can help coach you on how to buy multiple investment properties. And we don't charge for this because this is just like who we are. And we'd like to give back to people. We just want to sign you up for the coaching. So we know that if we're investing our time in you, that you're, committed to that. So I just want to end today with, we're going to end with just a little bit of goal setting exercise and tell you that, courage in life does not mean that you are not scared. It means you're scared and you do it anyway. It doesn't, you're scared, but you do it anyway. You can take drugs. A lot of people take drugs to change their state. A lot of people change their food. They exercise. They do stuff to change their state, because when you change your state, you change your energy, it changes your day, your life, your impact on other people. And I want you to think about this, okay? And think about, like, when you are passionate and determined, like, do you walk around like this, like with your head down, like, because your whole physical body changes when you're proud, right? When you're determined, when you're going to do it, when you're going to whatever, okay? And that's where you have to be in your life when you really want to achieve something, is you have to be in this state. And the state, gratitude a lot of times erases these negative emotions that people carry: resentment, doubt, anger, sadness, frustration, jealousy. And instead, if you can think about, wow, who can I thank today? Like, and also, what am I thankful for today? Like, and sort of make a joke about stuff. It changes your state, which changes your life. And so I know we're talking about like turning your dreams into dollars, but you can't do that if you're emotionally being dragged down. So, when you do your goal setting exercise, and I will send you this PowerPoint, you should have at least these 5 areas, okay? And I want you to focus on it, and you have to come back to it and back to it and back to it. In fact, I created a storyboard, and I have to constantly come back to it because you'll forget it, because you have these patterns and you'll revert to the patterns, friends. So you don't just have like financial goals. That's really not what life is about, okay? You have to have all different types of goals. And these are just 5 different ways that you can have goals, okay? So these are an example. Now, if you say, okay, Amy, my goal is to save money. But one of my team members said to me, Amy, I want to save money. I'm like, that's great. That's a good step. But what percentage are you going to save? Well, I'm just going to save as much as I can. Nope, that won't work. You have to say, I'm going to save $1 a day. I'm going to save 1% of my paycheck, because you have to have like a more exact goal, if that makes sense. Okay. I want to reduce my debt. Okay, here's the plan. Remember with Harvard, the people that wrote down, 13% of the people wrote down their goals, they made double the money. But 3% wrote down their goals and they had a plan. They made 10 times the impact, okay? And this is an example of the action steps that you have to take. I want to go do this with my husband 1 time per month. Okay, when are you going to do that by? You got to have a date, okay? I want to watch YouTube videos. It really simple stuff, okay? I want to lose 15 pounds. Great. That's a lot, okay? How are you going to do that? I'm going to hire a personal trainer. I'm going to Google gyms. I'm going to look up yoga studios, okay? And I want to have 8 hours of sleep, because if you don't have enough sleep, friends, you can't change your state. Okay, sleep is very, very, very important. Self-care, self-love is very important. Now, you guys know me, you guys that are on this webinar today, and education is a big deal for us. We are constantly doing these types of educations because as a team, it makes us rise up, learn about the topic, and then passionately help other people to achieve their goals. And so money is it changes people's marriages. 50% of people get divorced over money. And that's why we became divorce mortgage specialists. So we have these different webinars coming up, and you can look and see them. We have one on keeping your home through a divorce, not very exciting, or happy topic, but necessary. We have rehabs, we have all this stuff, home buying assistance. So you can look at these on our website. They're always there. We're going to have one on 1031 exchanges at the end of February. And just want to open up the webinar now for any questions, Chris, that anybody has, or any feedback at all.
We've got no written questions. Now's the time to go ahead and put those in the queue or take yourself off mute and ask.
Yeah, friends, please do that. I know it's like really simple what I said. If you go through this with your family, or if you're in a relationship and one of you is a spender and one of you is a saver, that is a potential big problem. Like I see it in my own family. Like my brother loves spending money, and his wife is more of a saver. And it's like a battle that goes on for years. And so you just have to start doing something to create some type of change. It's like Martin Luther King said, if you can run, run. If you can't run, jog. If you can't jog, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But for goodness sakes, move forward. Well, I want to thank you guys for being on the call, Chris.
Yeah, I have a quick question, Amy. Thank you so much for this. So I know you spoke about the compound interest, right? So my question would be, where exactly do we invest those little monies to have it compounded, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So what we did is, my husband is really into all these charts and stuff, Sean. And I said to him, like, where'd you come up with these numbers? Because he's like, oh my God, I figured this out. And because he was like mocking, like we had like a run through of this webinar earlier in the week, and I had him on it. And he was like, he was mocking Chris and I out. And we were like, well, why don't you come up with a chart? And so he's like, I can't believe this. But all I did, Amy, was use the average stock market return, which is 8%. And so you could invest in a variety of stuff, but what he did is just invested in an index fund in the stock market in the S&P 500 and took that as an average return over the last 50 years, and it was an 8% return. I'm not a financial planner, and I'm a certified mortgage planner, but I can't tell you where to invest. Obviously, if you have clients, which Sean, you do, and you're already doing this, that haven't invested in real estate, that's a no-brainer if that could happen. But we decided this year that, we have a lot of our portfolio invested in real estate, actually, in different types of real estate. Like we have rental properties, we have REITs, real estate investment trusts, we have money in different stocks and things like that are in the real estate. And we decided that we're going to move forward with an index fund ourselves. That was what was good for us, because we didn't want anybody else to manage our money, any more of our money in the future. So you have to decide what's good for you. Another thing is, and I know I've already mentioned this, but many of us have 401ks and our company matches us. And so many people are not taking advantage of that. And that is free money. So I would definitely start there, Sean. And if you want to call me, I can, or talk to me, just call me and I can go over whatever I can, whatever I do know on your situation, if that makes sense. And thank you for your question.
Keep in mind, it's always better if you can borrow from your 401k to pay yourself back. If you're going to repay yourself, pay yourself back. Don't pay off anybody else. Pay yourself back.
You mean when you're getting a loan you're talking about, Chris?
Yeah, when you're taking a
Yeah.
loan for example, real estate or for whatever reasons.
And then, you know, if you are looking forward to buying real estate, of course, you have to get pre-approved. Listen, friends, I kept you a few minutes over. I want to thank you so much for being in on this webinar. I would really appreciate if we're going to send you a copy of this presentation along with the spreadsheet. And if there's any feedback that you can give us on what you would wish that we would cover, because we don't normally do workshops like this. And we wanted to do this because it's a really big deal for people. When I talked about like the student loan debt and things like that, it's a big deal for a lot of people right now, you know, the amount of debt that they have. Credit card debt is at its highest that it's been at in decades. So thank you guys for attending. Please give us feedback. And if you have any questions at all, please call us. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.